Hi, and welcome back to a new episode, and like in episode 2 of last week's video about quilts. Today I will talk about how to stay warm in your quilt, and I guess it also applies to sleeping bags, so stay tuned for some revolutionary tips. Summer is coming to an end and autumn is almost here, and that means that the evenings and the nights are getting colder and some might find it difficult to stay warm. It can be a bit of a challenge, I guess, especially if you don't want to buy a new bag or a new quilt for the last adventures of the season. Myself, I am fully convinced that you don't have to buy a lot of different bags and quilts to face the different temperatures you will have during a 3-season hike, depending of course where you're hiking. A quilt rated for about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius has a lot of versatility and will hit that sweet spot of a perfect quilt for 3-season hiking, and will manage temperatures from the hot summer days down to about -4 degrees in comfort. And this is how it's done. For the hot summer days and above 15 degrees Celsius, there is obviously no problem to stay warm. And you can just use the quilt as a blanket, fully opened or any way you like. That will be sufficient for most nights, and if you get a little bit cold, you can just close that footbox. For clothes, well, you don't have to use anything in particular. Below 15 degrees and down to like 9 to 10 degrees, I think it's time to put on some additional clothes. I usually go to bed wearing a long sleeve base layer shirt, but no pants and no socks. Looking good. And before I go to bed, I also put my wool beanie beside me for easy access, along with my socks and base layer pants. And regarding my quilt, I always start with the footbox closed and the quilt attached with one strap. If I get too cold, I can always put on the extra layers, and if I get too warm, I can just open the quilt up or put my feet outside. Now, below 9 degrees and down to like 5, there's not much of a difference really, beside that I probably start by wearing also my base layer pants together with my socks. And if I get too warm, I just take them off during the night. I will probably also have my beanie on, and beside me I will put my fleeced hoodie just in case the temperature drops more than expected. The quilt I will keep closed in the footbox, and probably also close the quilt around my neck for the first time, but not keeping it too tight. Okay, so the next step is between 5 degrees and 0 degrees, and now we are getting close to the end of the comfort temperature of the quilt. At 5 degrees I usually have my fleece hoodie on to start with, and I will definitely put my puffy jacket beside me. The benefits of having a hoodie is that you will have the added warmth also for your head. One alternative is, if you're expecting it to drop all the way down to 0, could be putting the puffy on top of your sleeping pad. That way you will minimize the risk of cold air getting in. Now, below 0 degrees and down to -4 is not very common when we are talking about 3-season hiking, and most of the time only happens during the night, or if you're hiking at higher altitudes. Now, you probably go to bed and it's going to be like 5 to 7 degrees, then in the middle of the night, like 2 to 4 o'clock, it will start to drop. At least that is my experience. So, to start with, I just do like I did for the 5 degrees, but I will also prepare for the colder temperatures by bringing my down pants on the hike. I probably need to put my puffy on at about 0 degrees and my down pants like 1 or 2 degrees colder. Wearing my puffy and my down pants increased my comfort temperature in my quilt 6 to 7 degrees, and I've slept down to -4 in this combination with no problem. The puffy jacket, just like the hoodie, also gives you added warmth for your head, so your head will not be cold despite not having a hood on your quilt. Now, this system I have for layering up, it's not bomb-proof. There are other factors out there, and not only the temperature. First, you have the humidity. With a high humidity, you will experience it to be much colder than it actually is, and you might want to layer up much sooner. Your shelter will also play a big part, especially if it's windy. A double wall tent is warmer, keeping some of your body heat inside the tent, while a single wall tent or tarp, well, they are not as warm. The tent design is also important, where some tents having the outer reaching all the way down to the ground, while others have more open design, letting more air into the tent. But Beside the humidity and the tent design, the most important thing to stay warm, except having the correct comfort temperature on your quilt, is the sleeping pad. If you don't have enough R-value on your sleeping pad for the temperatures on your hike, it doesn't matter how much clothes you put on, you will get cold. So choose your pad wisely and turn the notification bell on, because next week it will be all about how to protect yourself from the cold coming from the ground. I hope you liked this episode about quilts and how to stay warm and found it useful. And if you did, please support this channel by subscribing. And that's it for today, and thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions to me that you want to ask, that is obviously true because it's a question, so you probably want to ask me if you have one. Well, anyway, I will get back to you as soon as I can if you post it down in the comments. And I will see you next week.